Well, good day, Tesla enthusiasts, or maybe those who are interested in just learning more about Tesla ownership, Tesla ordering process, some of the quirks and things that you go through in the ordering process. My name is Adam. I've got a tech and aviation channel, and we do videos on aircraft, we do videos on technology, and the Tesla falls into that technology category. So I wanted to kind of just give you a little brief overview. If you came across this video, you're probably doing some searching or maybe some investigating on Tesla purchasing, buying, the process, what people think, things like that. So you're at the right place because I was one of those people as well, and spent countless hours doing my due diligence in looking up everything I could possibly find on Teslas as far as safety and the purchasing process and the inspection process, which is something fairly new with automobiles. So just so you know that Tesla, the way you purchase a Tesla is all done online. You do not go to a showroom, although you can. They're just going to be pointing you to a computer to do that ordering process. So everything is done online. Basically, you pick your model. They essentially have 4 models right now. They have the 3, the Y, the X, and the S. And of course, they also have the Tesla truck, which is not out yet. It's probably another year or so before that'll be out. So it's either a smaller sedan, the Model Y, which is considered a small SUV, the Model S, which is like a luxury sedan, and then the Model X, which is kind of their flagship vehicle at this point. It's their larger SUV with the gull wing style doors. So you pick your model, then you pick your color, you pick your interior color, and there's a couple options depending on which model you're looking at. One of them may be, like in my case, was do I want 5 seats or 7 seats, and then a tow hitch. I didn't get the tow hitch, but you can get a tow hitch. You can also select things like the wheel size with some of the models, and then whether or not it's a performance version or it's all-wheel drive and so on. So there's only about 4 or 5 options with each model. Once you do that, it shows you your configuration cost as well as an estimated delivery date. And that's probably the biggest frustration in the Tesla world, is that they give you this EDD, they call it. And basically what that is hey, with your configuration, if you order today, you are expected to receive it XYZ on this particular month and year. And, you know, with most car manufacturers, that time is pretty on the money. You know, it used to be you could order a car from GM or Ford and it would come in, you know, 4 to 6 weeks and show up at the dealership. You just kind of knew that's what it was. Tesla, because of everything you can think of, whether it be supply and demand, whether it be chip shortages, what have you, the popularity, it's kind of been all over the place. I originally ordered mine in December of 21. We're now in the end of 22. And I originally had a estimated delivery date of July. So it was going to be about 6 months, which, you know, that was fine with me. I could expect that. And that's, I think most people, as long as you know what that estimated delivery date is, if they stuck to it, everybody would be fine with that. But what you experience is, unfortunately, these dates change constantly. And in my case, it changed probably somewhere like in the neighborhood of 12 to 13 times. So I had originally a July date, then I had as early as December, then I had back to March, then July, then August, September. I mean, it's all over the place. And just so you know, basically the way that Tesla works, their ordering process is, once the order's in, they basically start filling orders. But they don't fill them in the order they come in. Tesla fulfills orders typically with the higher priced, higher end models first, because that makes their sales numbers look great. So if you order a standard model or one of the lower end models, you're kind of pushed to the back of the line so they can push out the performance models, the high end models first, because that's where their biggest profit margins are. So the unfortunate part of Tesla, and probably the only one for me, is the fact that, yes, you have to wait and you have to go through this ever-changing estimated delivery date process. Once you get through that, everything is great, at least in my world, at least so far. Yeah, so if you can get past the waiting and having the dates change, if you just kind of don't look at that, if you're one of the people that's going to pull up your phone every day and see if your estimated delivery date change, you're going to be upset. But if you're just like, hey, if they said around October, put your phone away, don't look at it, and wait till you get that first text from Tesla, then you'll probably be fine. Unfortunately, I was the first person, which was constantly looking at it. So once you get close to where your car is going to be delivered, essentially what they do is your slip comes up at the factory. They say, okay, we're ready to build this particular car in this configuration, and they start building it, and then they send you a VIN number. So we all know what a VIN number is if you bought an automobile before. It's that serial number for the car. So when you have a VIN number, that means your car is on the assembly line being built, and it's a pretty quick turnaround from when you get your VIN to probably within 2 weeks your car is delivered, meaning that when you get the VIN, it's on the assembly line. A week later, it's on a truck. A week after that, it's basically in your hands. So it's a pretty quick manufacturing process once your car is actually in production. It's just the waiting and getting to that production time that can be a little bit time-consuming and frustrating. Now, when delivery day comes, that's when Tesla really starts communicating. So everything is done through the app. It's done via text, and they say, hey, your car is, you have a VIN number. Then they say, hey, your car is in production. Then they say your car is shipped, and be looking out for a text message for scheduling your delivery date. And then once you get the delivery date options, you get a text to say, pick a time to come pick up your car, and you do that in the app again. So they say, okay, this date's available. Do you want to come at 9, noon, 2, 4? You pick a time, and then you go pick up your car. So once you pick your date and time, you show up at the dealership. They have, hopefully, if they've done their job, pulled your car out of their inventory. They've prepped it, they've cleaned it, and they've kind of put it up front and center for you to pick up. It's sitting there, it's got your name in the window, and not necessarily because of COVID and all that, but it's a fairly touchless delivery process. You're welcome to go out and start looking at the car yourself, or you can check inside and say, hey, I'm here for my appointment, in which case they're just going to point you out to the car and say, well, go ahead and start taking a look at it, and come in if you have any questions. So we found the car. There was actually 2 advisors there who were tied up with other customers, so we had about 10 minutes of waiting time, but we used that time to actually look over the car. And here's something that's kind of manifested itself because of things like YouTube and just the internet in general, but everybody's talked about Tesla's build quality. And I guess in the beginning, I never had a Tesla in the beginning, but in the beginning, some of their build quality wasn't the greatest. Things didn't fit right. Things didn't, this and that. So this list has been created, an online list that's like the checklist of what you're supposed to check for panel gaps and all this fitment and everything on a car. Well, you could do that on any car. I mean, you could do that with a GM, a Ford, a Tesla, a Prius, anything, and you probably could always find something that maybe isn't exactly down to the millimeter correct, unless we're talking about a hand-built Rolls-Royce or something like that. So you have to kind of take those lists with a grain of salt. Don't go crazy. Obviously, if there's a dent, if there's a scratch, if there's something like that, Tesla will take care of it. If not on site, they'll schedule a mobile appointment. They'll come out and do it. And I'll talk about my first mobile appointment and how that went. But we looked over the car. The car looked clean and didn't have any problems with it. All the doors opened and closed properly. Everything looked good to me. There was no major scratch. I didn't see any scratches. Looked inside. The interior looked great. Opened all the doors. Kind of made sure everything worked. And we accepted the car. You do that via the app. So you open up your phone, you've connected to it, when you accept the delivery agreement, boom, the car unlocks. There it is. And your phone is now paired with the car. And your phone is kind of the heart of how you can control things. You do get cards to unlock and drive the car if you want, but primarily you just use your phone, because your phone kind of is a redundant source of everything that you see on the screen, whether it be the battery charging, the air conditioning, the alarm system. Everything can be viewed, changed, and looked at in the app, which is pretty cool. And again, talking about technology, that was the primary reason for my purchase of the Tesla. Not only the fuel savings and that, and we'll talk about that too, but the fact that it is the safest car on the road. It has the highest safety rating of any car out there for its class. It's also the most made in America car, in that most, if not all, of the car is made in the US. Tesla makes its own seats, they make the car, they're making they make everything. They're making batteries now. So with the exception of maybe a few, parts for the computer or something, the car is the most US made car on the market today. So if you want to support US made, there you go. Not only the technology, but also the fact that the car is made in the US. You accept the delivery, you sign your paperwork. It's basically one document just saying that you're accepting the agreements of the purchase price and everything, and off you go, and that's it. They do have three options. You can basically lease the car, you can buy the car outright with your own money, or you can get financing, whether that be through your own bank or through Tesla, and all those options are available in the app when you order your car. And you can change it if you change your mind, you get closer and you want to finance versus paying for it. You can do all that in the app, or with your advisor once you get assigned one. So you take delivery of the car and you're off and running, and then it's just really learning about the car, setting it up to your liking. And we're going to have future videos about some of the safety features and the technology behind what the car can and can't do, and those will be future videos. So let's talk about some of the good things with a Tesla. So why did you buy, or why are you interested in a Tesla? Are you interested because you think you're going to save the planet? Are you interested because you want to go all electric? Are you interested because you like the technology, maybe the safety, maybe the performance? I fall somewhere in the middle there. I'm more of a technology person. For me, it was about the technology and the safety. That was primary one. I have other gas cars, so I'm not, trying to save the planet per se. But for me, it was about the safety and the fact that I do a lot of work where I'm driving a lot, and the trips are perfect. It's a perfect mission, so to speak. In the aviation world, we talk about what's the mission for the aircraft. Yeah, for this car does around 300 miles on a charge, and I can charge it at the shop, and if I'm on the road and I'm away from that charger, I can charge a supercharger. And so for those of you who may not understand how the charging works, or think that you have to have a real expensive charger installed to make it work and all that, that's not the case. So all of the Teslas, basically, they used to come with a charger. Now they charge you $200, and the only reason they do that is because they give you some options in the charger that you may choose. You may want the mobile charger, you may want the home charger, you may not want to buy any charger. Maybe your building or your office has a charger built in, so they give people the option. But here's your options. The mobile charger, which uses a regular 110 outlet in your house that everybody has. You can run an extension cord outside, you can plug it in your garage. That will charge the car anywhere you go, and that comes with a variety of adapters that you can use for different types of plugs you may have in your house. Now the downside to that, it's a slower charger. If you plug in, it may take 18 to 20 hours if you were completely out of battery to charge it all the way up. The thing to think about is that you're never completely out of battery. Typically, if you're doing your daily driving, you're always going to have 50%, 40%, 60%, and it doesn't take that long to fill it up, halfway. So if you're always home in the evening, or you're back at the office and you plug it in, you're only charging it up a little bit, okay? But keep in mind that charger, the mobile charger, is the slowest of the options. The next option is the wall charger. That's the one that's typically about $400. If you don't know how to install it yourself, then you have to have an electrician install that. I did my own, Wasn't a big deal, bought some cabling, put an extra breaker in my panel, and I have the wall charger. Now the wall charger charges the car at anywhere between 40 to 50 miles an hour. Now what does that mean if you're not familiar with electric vehicles? That means that I plug the car in for 1 hour, I get 50 miles of range for every hour it's plugged in. So it doesn't take long if I'm only at a 50% charge to get all the way back up to either, 80 or even 100%. So that charges it very quickly. Now, what about if you're on the road making a cross-country trip, you're driving, for a vacation or driving for work, and you're driving outside of your 200-300 mile range that the car's battery will take you? Well, then you have the supercharger network. And this is what Tesla did that nobody else in the EV market did, is they built the infrastructure for electric cars really at the same time or even before they built all their cars. So there's pretty much nowhere that you can drive in the US and not be within range of a supercharger. Some areas there's a lot more than others. Some areas they're a little bit far and few between, but they are always adding them. But the nice thing is with the navigation system, which is one of the best I've ever used compared to Garmin or anything on your phone even, is that you punch in your navigation, or you say your navigation where you want to navigate to. The computer figures out the best route depending on your preferences, and then it shows you, if it's something that's outside of your range, it shows you where your stops are going to be, where you can go to charge up, and how long you're going to be there, what your charge is going to be on your car when you get there, how long you're going to have to sit there to get to the next one, and so on. So it's all calculated based off of the computer, your vehicle, the wind conditions, the speed you're driving. It knows everything about your car because it's making these calculations all the time while you're driving. So if you're on a long cross-country drive, let's say you're going 600 miles, well, that's obviously outside the range of one battery. So it's going to tell you, you're going to need to stop here for 20 minutes, and then you're going to charge up, and that's going to get you to here, and so on. And some people say, well, that's great, I got to sit around for 20 minutes. But if you think about it, if you've already driven 2 or 3 hours in a car, you're stopping anyways, right? You're in your gas car, you're going to stop, you're going to get gas, that's going to take 15 minutes. You're going to use the bathroom, maybe you're going to grab a bite to eat. Before you know it, you've been there 30 minutes. So it's not a big deal to really stop, take a break, and charge up your car. And the nice thing with the Tesla, because of the technology built in, you've got Wi-Fi access built into the car, you've got movies, you've got games, you've got things to kind of buy your time if you're sitting alone in the car, or if you're going out and going to go into a restaurant, your app on your phone is telling you exactly how many minutes left to charge, how much charge it has in it, and you can set alerts and all that thing. So it's the technology built around the charging system is what's really amazing with Teslas. Now let's talk about safety. The car has 8 cameras on it. There's 3 up on the front window. There are side cameras. There are pillar cameras on the pillars up here, and then there's a rear camera. And it uses vision to basically map out your drive. So it sees the road, it sees the road lines, it sees the signs, it sees the stoplights, it sees traffic cones, it sees the other cars, and it's making all these predictions on what you're doing as you're driving. So as you're driving along, if a car all of a sudden ahead of you, 500 feet starts slowing down and their brake lights aren't on, it sees that before you do, because it sees the car, it sees that there's a gap that's starting to be closed even before you do, and you typically will get an alert for that depending on how you have your gap set up. So not only is it the safest car in a crash, but the fact that the car is actually keeping you safer by predicting where accidents might happen or preventing them because it sees an obstacle or another car merging into your lane, and it's alerting you to those. That makes it even safer, on top of the fact that the car structurally is safe in a crash. So if you add on the fact that you've got a safe car in a crash, and the fact that it's helping you and predicting and keeping you from crashing, well, that makes it super safe. Now, you've seen that these cars self-drive themselves. That is true to a certain extent, and Tesla has various options when it comes to self-driving. So they have all of the Teslas come with what is called Autopilot. And Autopilot is essentially a super fancy and sophisticated cruise control. So you're driving down the road, highway road, let's say, you put the cruise control on, the car maintains whatever speed you set it to. It will adjust for cars in front of you, and that's about it there. It will then also, if you decide to choose the lane, keeping your lane, by pressing down 2 times on the stalk, you're then going to get not only cruise control, but you're going to get lane, maintaining the lane. So if you have a road that has sufficient striping, which for the most part most roads do, the car is going to maintain your lane, and it's going to keep you within the lane, it's going to keep you at the speed, and it's almost like hands-off driving. Now you do need to keep a little pressure on the wheel. You just kind of rest your hand on the wheel down low, and Tesla senses that, and then it basically auto steers and auto drives the car to, you know, down the road. Now, full self-driving, FSD they call it in the Tesla world, is what it says. It is full self-driving. You put in an address, let's say. You're navigating to that address, you engage full self-driving. The car will maintain the distance from the car in front of you. It will maintain the speed you set. It will maintain the lane. If it needs to switch lanes because you're trying to maintain 60 miles an hour and there's a car in front of you, it sees that the lane to the left or right is open, it will put the blinker on, it will change lanes, and it will continue driving. Now we are almost to the point in full self-driving where the car will basically fully self-drive, and they are doing this now, but it is in beta, where you punch in an address into your navigation, you press go, and the car essentially starts and stops, turns left, turns right, navigates lanes, and basically drives you all the way there. Now, it is in beta, meaning just like any software, it's out, but it's in testing mode. So there are people who are beta testing, and the more cars and the more information that the cars gather from all of the information that each car on the road is gathering, so that would be like road conditions, tricky turns, signage, things like that. Every time it gets more and more information, the software gets smarter and smarter. So there's beta testers out there, and you can do a Google search for FSD, and they'll take a drive and they'll have a camera mounted, and you'll see them basically not touching the wheel, and the car is turning and doing all this stuff. But then when it gets to an area where it couldn't quite figure out maybe a poorly striped road or a unique turn where there's a hill or some weird signage, they'll actually mark the FSD and send an alert to Tesla, say, hey, I took this turn, the car's computer didn't quite get it right, or did it really slow. And then Tesla's engineers will look at that and they'll say, oh, okay, well, here's what we need to do in that situation. So every time a mile of road is driven with a Tesla, that information is going into the mothership, and it's basically their engineers are tweaking and tuning and getting this self-driving to where it's almost exactly perfect. That brings up another thing with the way that Tesla is in tune with the cars. Now, they're not in the car watching you and all that. Could they? I'm sure they could, but they could do that with anything with your phone nowadays. But what they are doing is, whenever there is a crash with a Tesla or any kind of an incident with a Tesla, they're immediately gathering that data from the car's computer, the individual car's computer, and they can analyze, did the airbag come out at the right time? Did the seatbelt tensioner tighten just right? Did the brakes come on? And every single accident makes this car safer. If they found that if they would have deployed the airbag 1/100th of a second sooner than this last crash and the next crash, then that will be a safer car for the next guy. Yes, all car manufacturers can pull data from their car, but it's typically, they're not changing things on the fly like Tesla can. Tesla can say, hey, we realize that if we do this with the airbag 1/10th of a second sooner or 1/100th of a second sooner, we'll make it a safer car. Boom, software update goes out to the car, your car gets updated, your car is that much safer. So, just a quick overview on some things. We're going to talk about some of the features of the car in an upcoming video. Hope you guys are enjoying it. If you do like it, you want more Tesla content, make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.